Through the thick morning fog along the Kursk border, a Russian logistics convoy was rolling quiet and low along Highway E38 in Ukraine's Chernihiv Oblast. On board were over 300 troops, artillery shells, and communications gear, all heading straight for a staging point near Oktyabaskoye, just 25 miles from the Ukrainian border. But what they didn't know was this. Every step they took was already being tracked. Electronic targeting systems from across the border had them locked. And by 6:10 a.m., May 8th, the trap was closing in. At 1,000 feet up, 3 Mavic 3 drones from Ukraine's 14th UAN Regiment held a wide triangular formation, sweeping the highway with thermal imaging. Before we dive into all of this, let us know in the comments where you're watching this video from. Connecting with viewers across the world is a huge source of inspiration for us. Then boom, the convoy came into view on the command screen. 14 Ural and Kamaz transport trucks, not just vehicles, but a full-on mobile supply hub meant to feed Russia's frontline push near Pokrovsk. According to Ukrainian intel, this wasn't just a troop rotation. The cargo on board included 300 rotating troops, a full combat logistics chain to keep a battalion-sized tactical group operational, and more than 600 boxes of 5.45 by 45mm ammunition. We're talking close to 650,000 rounds. Enough firepower to fully arm a mechanized rifle brigade. Riding with the convoy was a fuel tanker hauling 1,900 gallons of diesel, absolutely critical for keeping those mechanized units moving and resupplied up front. And that wasn't all. Inside the trucks were over 1,200 hand grenades, RGD-5s, RGOs, and F1s. The kind of gear designed to rip through bunkers and alleyways in close quarters combat. Strapped in tight were 2,001 122mm artillery shells, ready to feed into D-30 howitzers or Grad rocket launchers. And riding alongside the explosives was high-value comms gear, R-168 radios, Lear-3 jamming antennas, even several Orlan-10 reconnaissance drones in cold storage. Altogether, this was more than a convoy. It was the forward nerve center of Russia's electronic warfare push. And if Ukraine's artillery didn't stop it in time, by nightfall, this gear would be spread across the front line like lethal adrenaline surging straight into the blood-soaked trenches near Pokrovsk. The problem for Russia? They just rolled out of Suja's electronic defense perimeter. No more mid-range radars, no more Lear-3 jammers to shield them. Now they were crawling through a low-lying open corridor, hemmed in by scattered brush and pine forest. No high ground, no overwatch, no obstacle. Speaking, they were built for speed and precision, each one rigged with 7-inch propellers for stable lift and rapid bursts over complex terrain. Power came from twin 2.87 brushless motors, cranking out 5.5 pounds of thrust, just enough to carry the essentials: a navigation unit, battery pack, and a shaped charge warhead. At the core was an F7 flight controller running custom Bella flight firmware, giving it pinpoint control over pitch, speed, and flight path down to the single degree. But the real power came from the onboard AI. These drones could identify vehicle types like Ural 5350 fuel trucks or troop carriers, and then scan for weak spots: engine hood vents, locking pins, seams, drive shafts, and reinforced weld points. And even under GPS denial, they weren't flying blind. The system switched to inertial guide system, real time. Then, at 6:13 a.m., something unexpected hit the screen. The Mavic 3 recon drone picked up strong interference on the 2.4 to 4 GHz band classic jamming. The DJI's onboard optical system didn't hesitate. It analyzed the interference and locked in on the source: a Lear-3 electronic warfare module mounted on a Kamaz truck chassis. This wasn't just noise. This was the kind of system that could blind the control signal, scramble the feed, and drop a drone out of the sky. But Ukraine was ready. The drone network instantly kicked into counter-jamming mode. The recon drone activated frequency-hopping spread spectrum, flipping through hundreds of channels per second across 3 bands impossible to pin down. Meanwhile, the FPV strike drones switched over to inertial navigation, using gyroscopes and accelerometers to hold course. No signal needed. Control signals shifted to the L-band, much harder to jam. And encased the Lear observation posts. It was a textbook kill zone. Visibility was poor, cover minimal, and if an ambush came, escape was damn near impossible. Lying in wait along the western forest edge, about 3/4 to 1 mile off the main road, were special forces teams from Ukraine's 225th Charlie Brigade, dug in since before dawn. The terrain there was damp, low, overgrown, perfect for staying hidden. Each team, made up of 3 to 5 soldiers, had been holding position for over 3 hours, ever since UAVs confirmed the convoy left Suja. They weren't just lying in wait, they were set in L-shaped crossfire formations, classic setup for locking down retreat paths and creating overlapping kill zones. Each squad had at least one RPG-27 anti-tank launcher, fitted with tandem warheads built to cut through reactive armor and leave even heavy vehicles dead in the mud. And every soldier carried at least 2 RGO grenades, high frag, wide blast radius, absolutely lethal in confined spaces. Perfect for when Russian troops tried to dismount or scatter. These grenades weren't just for attack, they were used to lock down movement, trap the enemy, and keep them stuck inside the kill zone where they'd have no way out, and come to a dead stop, completely immobilized. The entire Russian convoy was taken out in under 2 minutes. Overhead, Mavic 3 drones recorded everything, confirming 5 out of 6 armored vehicles destroyed. The 6th, abandoned. Russian troops were scattered, and not a single Ukrainian casualty was reported. This was, by every standard, a textbook ambush, a perfect execution of speed, precision, and multi-layer coordination. In just under 3 minutes, all 14 Russian armored and transport vehicles were neutralized. 11 were completely incinerated, reduced to scorched, twisted steel. The other 3 were blackened, disabled, and permanently unusable. Thermal imagery from the DJ-1 Mavic 3 showed over 300 Russian soldiers killed or incapacitated, most of them within a 650-foot radius of the blast zone. And here's the kicker. Not a single shot was fired by Ukraine. No infantry charges, no boots on the ground. The truck seized, veered, and rolled flames spilling from the hood. It was done, dead in its tracks. Perfect setup for what came next. By 6, 18, and 21 seconds, the second drone came screaming down on the 4th vehicle, a Kamaz tanker hauling 1,900 gallons of diesel. Impact was dialed in for the underside of the tank, where the main fuel reservoir sat. Approach angle, 300 degrees. Strike point, 8 inches off-center to the right. Boom. The drone hit and a secondary explosion lit up the sky. A 40-foot fireball engulfed the truck, like a mobile ammo dump going off. The shockwave shattered nearby windshields, and suddenly Russian troops were bailing out of their vehicles. Then came 6, 18, and 35 seconds. If you're still watching, comment 1 so I know you're still with me. From the tree line, Ukrainian special forces opened fire. 1 tense. That means for the price of a single HIMAR rocket, roughly $168,000, Ukraine could deploy more than 300 kamikaze drones, each capable of disabling or destroying vehicles and infrastructure worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. In this specific strike, the cost per kill ratio was estimated at better than 1 to 600 in Ukraine's favor. Even more striking, a RUSI report noted that up to 60% of Ukrainian FPV drones still hit their targets despite heavy Russian jamming on certain parts of the front line. When small, affordable drones can bypass million-dollar defense systems and wipe out entire combat formations, it forces us to ask, has the era of traditional high-cost warfare given way to a new age of cheap, precise, and devastating technology? But here's the real question, and it's one the entire world should be debating right now. If a $500 drone can outsmart and outgun a $5 million defense system, is the future of warfare no longer about who has the biggest arsenal, but who has the smartest chip? Has modern conflict become less about tanks since IMU mode, using 3-axis gyros and accelerometers, keeping lock with just a 5-foot margin of error? At exactly 6, 18, and 7 seconds, the first strike drone locked onto the lead Ural truck, a double-cabin armored vehicle with thermal shielding up front. Half a mile out, the drone pitched down at -37 degrees, hit 90 miles per hour, and held rock steady despite Kursk's usual fog, wind, and humidity. Target acquired, the left air vent and hood seam. Then impact. The 6PB-shaped charge warhead punched straight through the cabin and detonated in the engine bay, unleashing a 4,500-degree Fahrenheit plasma jet that tore through the crankshaft and transmission. 3 tried GPS spoofing, a trick Russia used often back in Donbass. The drones had a failsafe. If the system detected a 1.5% deviation between actual movement and the spoofed GPS input, it would cut GPS entirely and switch to full internal navigation. Bottom line, not a single Ukrainian drone veered off course. By 6:15 a.m., the Mavic 3's thermal camera picked up 6 Russian armored vehicles entering the kill zone, moving steady at around 30 miles per hour. Engine heat was climbing, targets were hot, and the strike clock was ticking. The infrared signatures lit up clear as day. All that thermal data was tactically encrypted and pushed straight to the ground fire control center. By 6:17 a.m., thermal tracking showed the Russian convoy was just 1.1 miles from the ambush zone. And less than 10 seconds later, the green light came through. Fire. Armed drones moved in. The drones used in Operation Kursk weren't just off-the-shelf models. These were one-way FPV kamikaze drones, operated directly by UAV teams from Ukraine's 413th RAID Battalion. Single mission, single strike. Maximum destruction. Technically offline. The Russian formation crumbled. Survivors bailed from their trucks, scrambling for cover along the roadside. Then at 6:19 and 8 seconds a.m., the last two FPV drones made their move simultaneous strikes on the final two vehicles in the convoy. One truck was carrying weapons, the other packed with logistics supplies. Drone 1 came in from the right, punched through the roof of the weapons truck, and detonated inside. That triggered a chain reaction fire that cooked everything on board. Drone 2 slammed straight into the rear left wheel of the logistics truck, hitting the drive axle dead on. The impact made the truck skid sideways, snap its drive shaft out. If you're still watching, comment 1, so I know you're still with me. Each Ukrainian squad also had a designated target marker, the guy with the laser-assisted optical sight. His job? Lock onto high-value targets and beam real-time coordinates straight to the UAVs overhead and the HIMAR rocket launchers way in the rear. That setup made the whole system click. Accurate target marking, instant coordinate relays, and perfectly timed fire missions with long-range artillery from the rear echelon. Up above, the drones were sending back the final data. And as the Russian logistics convoy crept into the 45-mile engagement radius, the HIMAR launchers powered up. Everything was ready. One word left: fire. Inside a field command bunker located 18 miles southwest of the kill zone, UAV coordinators from Ukraine's 413th RAID Battalion were watching it all play out through a low-latency transmission system. And more about tech? We want to hear what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to keep exploring elite tactics, cutting-edge military tech, and battlefield strategies the mainstream media won't show you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update from military knowledge. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. Understand war to understand power. This is modern war, not the old-school trench rush. Infantry doesn't lead anymore, they finish. The final lock in a closed-loop kill chain. No drawn-out battle, no ground to seize. Just 180 seconds and the entire enemy convoy was gone. The ambush on Highway E38 wasn't just a tactical victory for Ukraine. It was a clear sign of how modern asymmetric warfare is reshaping the battlefield. In under 3 minutes, a swarm of FPV drones, costing less than $20,000 in total, managed to destroy a Russian convoy worth over $12 million, including armored vehicles, artillery shells, fuel, and sensitive electronics. According to the Royal United Services Institute (RUS), Ukraine's domestically produced FPV drones cost as little as $400 to $700 each, depending on the configuration. By early 2024, Ukraine's Ministry of Defense had ramped up monthly production to over 30,000 units. Firefight. The entire operation was carried out remotely with UAVs and standoff weapons, all from outside the reach of enemy counterattack. What was left behind was a 300-yard belt of destruction. Ural and Kamaz trucks had been blown more than 330 feet from the explosion sites. The highway was littered with shattered windshields, tires, mangled comms gear, like a scene after a rocket artillery barrage. Thick black smoke hung over the area for hours. Highway E38, Russia's vital supply artery into Pokrovsk and Kharkiv, was now a graveyard. Russian troops threw up their own cordon around the Okhty-CKO stretch, trying to recover what was left and figure out just how bad the damage was. And the fallout? Logistics were crippled for more than 48 hours. It caused major delays across the 20th Army's operations, as well as reinforcement columns out of Belgorod. Artillery units and resupply convoys were forced to reroute 45 miles, choking the gear flow across the Western Front. This wasn't just an ambush. It was a masterclass in three-tier coordinated warfare. Top-tier HIMAR launchers, firing precision rockets from deep in the rear, well out of reach of counter-battery fire. Middle-tier Mavic 3 drones, constantly scanning the highway and relaying coordinates in real time. Ground tier Ukraine's 225th Charlie Brigade Special Forces, locking down exits and finishing off survivors. That means for the price of a single HIMAR rocket, roughly $168,000, Ukraine could deploy more than 300 kamikaze drones, each capable of and more about tech? We want to hear what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to keep exploring elite tactics, cutting-edge military tech, and battlefield strategies the mainstream media won't show you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update from military knowledge. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. Understand war to understand power. Team launched an RPG-27 straight at the third vehicle, a Ural troop carrier. The tandem warhead tore through the reactive armor and detonated inside the main cabin. What followed was chaos, screams, blast shock, soldiers blown off the truck. And just seconds later, RGO grenades rained down, detonating across every possible escape route, trapping the dismounted troops right where Ukraine wanted them. Then at 6, 18, and 52 seconds, the third drone locked onto the command vehicle, the one with the comms antenna and broadcast mast. Target: right side door, the commander's seat. Direct hit. Fire erupted from the cabin, the antenna snapped, and comms went dead. The convoy's nerve center was gone. Flames burst from the cabin, the antenna snapped, and just like that, the command vehicle was out. That means for the price of a single HIMAR rocket, roughly $168,000, Ukraine could deploy more than 300 kamikaze drones, each capable of